Hey everybody, I just want to let you know before this video starts that I had some technical difficulties with two of the movies that I talk about in this month's movie haul. Like, for some odd reason, I don't get this. I don't get it. Like, two of the clips wouldn't play. They wouldn't play despite them being MP4s, and they just wouldn't play. I don't freaking get it. So if you hear me talk, if you hear me say, like, I don't remember which movies they were, to be honest. So if you hear me say like two different titles in this video, but you don't see me talk about that movie, that's why. So I'm just letting you know. So yeah, enjoy the video. Yeah. Well, hello everybody, TinW Rago here, games, movies, and vlogs. How the hell is everybody? And welcome to August 2022 Movie Haul. Now, I know this is kind of odd. I'm sitting on the floor here by my bed because my desk is being used right now for a project that is well, no spoiler heavy anything here, but remember when I said I was going to show off the two Bionicles that I bought? The build that I was going to do, it wasn't a normal build. I was going to have a cooler way of doing it. Well, my desk is being used for that right now, so that's why I'm over here. And I know it's weird and odd, but I'm a weird dude, so in all honesty, who gives a shit? But anyways, here is the stack of movies, and I have them turned to the side so you guys don't know what they are until I reveal them. Alright, so let's get this started, shall we? Okay, so kicking off this month's movie haul, have you ever do you guys ever have like those movies that it bears the name of, it's movies based off old TV shows, really, that, you know, in the 2000s they make a movie of them, and it's a name that you know of, but you didn't grow up with it, where you know the show exists, you've seen it a few times here and there, but you never really grew up watching it. And then all of a sudden, here comes the 2000s, and they make a movie out of it, or movies, whichever, really. So that's the first two movies that I have for you. All on this month's movie haul, because you see, the first two movies we have here are the Goosebumps movies, the new ones. You got Goosebumps and Goosebumps 2 here. Now, the first one, I'm gonna tell you the truth, I've never seen these, like, all the way through. To be honest, I never really watched these completely. I've never even seen this, so I got no opinion on this one. The first movie, on the other hand, I kind of do. I kind of have... That was weird. That was stupid, sorry. The first movie here, I kind of have an opinion on it because I've seen clips of it on YouTube, and the story is very interesting. It's spoilers for, you know, because I do that with every movie I talk about, so spoilers, you've been warned. Sorry, almost belched. The whole thing about this movie is Jack Black here plays the author of the Goosebumps stories, R.L. Stine, and these kids read his stories, or one of them does, or these two guys behind him do, and then all of a sudden, all the monsters out of the Goosebumps books start coming to life and wrecking this town and shit. Now, I have not really read the Goosebumps books, so I've never really... I recognize the dummy and the abominable snowman here, so I recognize them, but like I said, I haven't grown... I've grown up knowing Goosebumps was a thing, because on Cartoon Network they used to play the TV series every Halloween, and in elementary school, any of you guys probably remember this in the 2000s, the Goosebumps books, were pretty popular during the early 2000s here. So it's like I've never grown up with this, but I saw a couple of clips. Put some twang in there. Okay, put some country twang in there. Sorry about that. Clips on YouTube, and I'll tell you this: the CG in this movie is not as good as it should be. It's decent, but it could have been better. I don't know who did the CG for this movie. Oh my god, I can't even see who did the CG for this. Oh my gosh. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. I don't know who did the CG for this movie, but the CG could have been better. I mean, it's okay. The CG's decent. It's not great like Prehistoric Planet great, but it's decent CGI. But yeah, I've never really watched this fully, just a couple of clips, and then this one, I've never watched it at all, to be honest with you. And the thing is with this one, I don't know if this actually came out in theaters or not. I think it did, but it wasn't in for very long. I don't know why. Like, the history behind this is really, really odd. Like, did it come out in theaters or did it go straight to DVD? I have no idea. But Jack Black's not in it, but Mr. Chow is, or Jerry Wang, for those Transformers fans out there. Okay, so that's an interesting casting choice. And the one thing interesting about the first movie is this girl right here, who they do this whole thing where you'd think she's R.L. Stine's daughter, but come to find out she was a character written in one of the Goosebumps books. So I remember like hearing that, and I was shocked actually, but it's like I know this one just from a few clips and that one little plot twist, and then yeah, Goosebumps 2 I don't know nothing about at all. So yeah. All right, on to the next one, whatever it is. Okay, so sorry. Okay, so for this next movie, honest to God, I got no introduction for this. Everybody knows this character and remembers this movie, Spawn, based on the Todd McFarlane comic book. This movie, I mean, I enjoy it for what it is. I've never read the comics at all because, to be perfectly honest, I can never find them anywhere. Everywhere, every bookstore that I've gone to that has comic books, well, that sells comic books, I've never been able to find it. And this was my introduction to Spawn, and I saw this movie, shit, man, like way back in, I think, high school, freshman year of high school. I saw like halfway into this movie. And then as I got older, I started watching this more and watching the movie more, and I've seen it now I think like twice all the way through. And the thing about this character is what do you call it? Well, I don't really know the character. It's been a while actually since I've watched this movie, but I know like the weird little history with Spawn actually being brought to life is that apparently this movie, because apparently the comic book of Spawn is very R-rated, like it's like Hellboy R-rated, and this movie came out, I believe, in I want to say 1997 this movie came out, I think. I know this was made in the 90s, but I think this movie came out in 1997, and I was a year old at the time. So, yeah, like, this movie comes out, and it's not even R-rated. Like, deadass. It's freaking... See, look at this. It says it's rated R for violence and crude humor, but you look at it nowadays, the level of action in this movie is, like, PG-13. Like, I don't even know why it's rated R, because there's nothing... There's nothing in this movie considered rated R. And I'm telling you right now, despite the fact that they actually got Industrial Light and Magic, who is a CG, who is a special effects company that needs no freaking introduction whatsoever, anybody who has watched the live-action Transformers franchise, Kong Skull Island, Mighty Joe Young, the 1998 Disney remake, and a shitload of other movies. ILM need no introduction whatsoever. But I'm telling you right now, the CGI in this freaking movie is just... Oh my god. Look, I mean, I know it's the 90s, and CG was still a new thing, but remember, Jurassic Park came out in 90s... Actually, you know what? The Lost World Jurassic Park came out in the same year that this did, and yet the Lost World CGI, again, done by Industrial Light and Magic, oh my god, is so much better than this. What the hell happened? I don't know how ILM could work on two movies that came out in the same freaking year, and yet the CG in this movie looks like a PS2. Looks like a PS2 cutscene. Oh my god. I mean, the designs of all of it's the scenes that take place all in hell, and design-wise, it looks great. Design, but the CG for everything and the heavy amount of green screening, oh my god. Put it this way, the Asylum could do better than that. Actually, no, the Asylum did do better than that in Almighty Thor from 2011. I'm sorry, I don't mean to bash Industrial Light and Magic. If I am, I apologize. I'm just stating the fact. I'm just stating the truth here. I mean, this movie, I mean, it's a fun movie. It's not for everybody. You know, some people like it, some people don't. But what's so funny is apparently anybody who knows Spawn remembers the animated series that came out on HBO Max. And the animated series is rated R straight up. I mean, I haven't watched it all the way through. I mean, I've tried a couple of times here and there. And the animated show has it has gore and it has nudity in it. Like, oh my god. Like the animated series is what Spawn really is. So, why couldn't... Apparently the movie came out first and then the animated series? So it's like, why couldn't they make the movie like that? Like, what the hell? I love the cover of the special effects movie event of the year. Like, dude, did you not see the special effects in this movie? Like, Like, a better comparison, I mean, you have, okay, you have The Lost World and this, since they both came out in 1997. When it comes to CG being obvious, I always think, like, the first Dragonheart. Now, I know the first Dragonheart, is, it's a very underrated gem. It's a really great movie, the very first one is, anyway. The very first, I love all 5 Dragonheart movies. I love, well, we'll get into that. We'll get into that here in a bit. What do you call? Well, the very first Dragonheart, the CG in that movie was done, again, by Industrial Light and Magic, came out in 1996, and, I mean, the CG in Dragonheart looks better than that, looks way better than this. And the CG in Dragonheart is very hit or miss in that movie. For Draco, he's very hit or miss in that movie. I mean, he's decent, but, again, hit or miss. And yet, like, the CG in this movie, oh my god, it's so obvious. Like, it is so obvious. I mean, if I'm bashing this movie, I'm sorry. I don't mean to. I'm just stating the obvious, or stating the truth, really. I mean, I have fun watching it, don't get me wrong. I do get a kick, the couple times I've seen this, I do get a kick out of this movie. I really, really do. Like, the makeup effects on Spawn, and the fact that the actor, wears an actual suit, and he's played by Michael J. White, or Jai White. I don't know how to say that middle part. I've heard it pronounced several different ways. But, I love how the dude, he plays Spawn, and then later he plays in the Asylum's ripoff in 2014. There's an Asylum movie that he plays in called Android Cop. So it's interesting that, you know, he plays in these very almost comic book style action movies, even though this is really based on a comic book. But this and the Asylum movie I mentioned are the only 2 movies. Well, no, I've seen him in a 3rd movie called SWAT. Was it SWAT? There's like another movie that I watched with my boy KMD Allen, on I think it was Netflix. I can't remember, but there's like a 3rd movie that I saw with him in it. I can't remember. But I've been rambling on about this movie, and do I recommend this? I do, to be perfectly honest. I do, because it's one of those movies where, you know, despite the CG being just, oh, good Christ, like, really obvious, it's, other than that, the rest of it is actually a pretty fun movie. Like, there's a lot of good action scenes in here, but, and it's got a very somewhat depressing story to it, with his origin and shit, so I would recommend this if you're one of those moviegoers like myself, who just watch it just for the entertainment, really. And I've rambled on about this for a while. Sorry about that. Okay, now this next movie needs no introductions whatsoever. We've all read the books, or those of us who have read them. We all know this franchise. Everyone knows this. Harry Potter. I got the second movie here because for the longest time I've only had the very first movie. And I've seen this entire franchise. I've seen all 8 of these movies, whether it was on Netflix or rented them from the library. But I've seen pretty much all these movies, and I'm just now collecting this, which, I mean, I've had the books for, shit, man, ever since I was in middle school, I believe. So, sorry about that, I almost belched, sorry. But this one used to be one of my favorite ones, and again, spoilers, for pretty much every movie. I talk about. Sorry if I do that. I almost burp, and I'm trying hard not to belch in any of my videos again. But this one, I always used to love. I think this one and number 3 in Prisoner of Azkaban. I used to watch those two the most for some reason. I don't know why. This one used to be my favorite of those two because of the fact that there's a giant snake in the movie. The basilisk. That would be... I swear, I remember there used to be a video on YouTube. I don't know if it's still out there, but somebody took this movie and did all basilisk scenes, which I used to watch that like crazy. I used to watch that video all of the time. But the Harry Potter series, now, when it comes to books to movies, books to movies are very, very challenging. They're very challenging movies to make because the books tell the full story, and turning it into a movie to tell a full story within movie length is a very challenging thing. And there's some books to movies, there's some movie adaptions that, from what I've heard anyway, there's a few of them that aren't that good, and Aragon is one of them. I mean, I did enjoy that movie, but there's so much from the book. I mean, that movie is, what, an hour and 40-something minutes long. It could have easily been a 3-hour movie. There is so much stuff from the book that they could have put in there. And then they screwed up a lot. They screwed up, like, one major thing, which drives me nuts. You know, the Aragon movie, it could have been better. But when it comes to movie adaptations from books, the Harry Potter franchise is the absolute, for me anyway, and I'm pretty sure it is for a lot of you heavy readers out there like myself. I mean, do you see all this? Do you see how many books I have? Like, seriously. Comic books too, but you see how many books I have? Like, Jesus. A lot of you heavy readers out there, the Harry Potter franchise is the best movie adaptations from books because they stick so true to the books in every movie. Man, because I remember reading the books and watching the movies at the same time when I was in high school, and the movie sticks so true to the books, it's not even funny. And the look of the characters, they feel so much like this is what J.K. Rowling envisioned. And am I gonna get the Fantastic Beasts movies since they're basically prequels to this? So shit. You know what? I should have started buying those movies first. God damn. But anyways, the Wizarding World, the Wizarding Universe, which is like 11 movies. Yeah, there's 8 of these, and then the 3 Fantastic Beasts movies. Yeah, there's like 11 of these movies. So I'm gonna start collecting this franchise now because the Wizarding World is, honestly, to me anyway, the best fantasy movie franchise ever, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, I recommend any of these movies. I mean, I know the most recent Fantastic Beasts movie, a lot of people are refusing to watch it because of the fact that it was made and came out during the crazy Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, and Johnny Depp was cut out of that movie and he was replaced with somebody else. But I don't care for all that. I'm just gonna get the movie anyway because it's part of this franchise, and I'm gonna freaking buy it anyways. It's part of this world. So yeah, and these three, the three main cast here: Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, how the frick? I don't know how to say his last name, and Emma Watson. Like, these three, every time I see them, they always do such a great job. And I just love how I look at Daniel Radcliffe in the movies he does now, and he always does the weirdest shit I've ever seen. Oh my god, it's like, it's so hard when you look at any new movie with Daniel Radcliffe in it, and you know that, oh my god, it's the guy who played as Harry Potter, but then when you look at the characters he plays as, it's like, what happened to you? You look at it like, oh my god, Harry Potter, what the hell happened to you, man? Man, you graduated from Hogwarts, and what are you doing to yourself? And especially one movie that he did, I know I'm going off on a tangent, but it's, you know, it's Daniel frickin' Radcliffe. I mean, one movie that he did, I don't know if it had a very limited theatrical release. I have no idea. Or straight to DVD. Anybody ever heard of the movie called Guns Akimbo? And for those of you who don't know what akimbo means, it's another word for dual wielding. I know, I've never heard that term until I actually saw this movie. It's literally about, the movie is about, it's like this game, it's one of those people killing each other type movies, but it's on a game thing, and people watch it on the internet or some shit, and Daniel Radcliffe his character gets forced into it, and they take these big ass pistols, and I can't believe I'm saying this, because it happens in this movie, they bolt and screw these guns to his hands to where he can't remove them. And every shot of his hands looks painful as shit. Oh my god, I don't even know how he even has hands after that. But it's just so weird seeing Daniel Radcliffe go from this amazing character to all this crazy shit that he's in now. It's crazy. And again, I've rambled on for a while about this movie. Anybody in this day and age who has not watched these movies or any of the Wizarding World films, definitely get them, because it is true fantasy at its finest. Okay, now for this next movie, you all know that I collect the DC animated movies every month here. So this next movie is one of those movies. Batman the Killing Joke. This one here, I remember watching when I took, in one of the classes I took in college is called Comic Books as Literature. Best freaking class ever. If any of you guys out there watching this, whether it be here in Vegas or wherever, if y'all have that class in your college, definitely take it, because it is a fun as hell class. And this was one of the movies we watched, and I remember, much like way back when with Batman Mask of the Phantasm here, it was one of those movies where we started watching it, and I thought, oh, well, I'll just watch this movie over the weekend, so I'm ahead of everybody. And I did the same thing with this movie. And the two things that really stick out in my mind in this movie is, number one, hearing Batman laugh. Yes, Batman, the stoic, he laughs Bruce Wayne laughs in Mask of the Phantasm, but I mean when he's dressed as Batman. Hearing Batman laugh, it's at the very, very end of this movie. Like, the movie literally ends with Batman and Joker laughing at a dumb joke that Joker tells. And I don't know if it's creepy to hear Batman laugh. It's really weird, because it's the only movie that I've seen where Batman actually laughs his ass off. So, it's really weird. It's a very, very weird scene, and a very odd way to end a movie, especially dealing with Joker. And there's that part. And the other thing that really sticks out in my mind is this whole ending, the entire ending, or second act of this movie, I think, is, or I think that's what you call it, is when Joker kidnaps Commissioner Gordon, and I'm not kidding about this, strips him completely nude and humiliates the shit out of him. It's a really embarrassing scene not embarrassing, but it's a really unsettling bit to watch, where Joker takes Commissioner Gordon and takes him to this amusement park right here and just humiliates Commissioner Gordon. Humiliates the living shit out of him. It's a very unsettling scene to watch. But I know this is one of the great DC animated movies, and it sucks that it's standalone, because the animation is very reminiscent of, say, Justice League versus the Fatal Five, or the Justice League cartoon from 2003. The animation is very reminiscent of that. So it's so crazy how this is a standalone movie and it doesn't take place in any of the animated DC universes there. But this, I do remember this being a good being a good one here. So I would definitely recommend anyone check this out when they get a chance here. Well, we still have like a lot of movies to cover here, so what do you call? So you all know that another movie collection I'm getting is the main MCU here. So for our next movie we it's like 12:30 right now. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning, and yet I'm still wide awake. So the next movie we have in the MCU is Avengers: Age of Ultron. Now this one is actually my personal favorite because of oh god, sorry, I almost belched. Like, what do you call I am a huge sucker for movie robots, you guys know that, and one of my favorite MCU villains is Ultron, and he is not on the back cover, but what do you call? Actually, let me get this freaking $5 label taken off. See, here he is right here. You could finally see his face. What do you call? I love Ultron's design, like his personality, his design, the guy that does his voice, James Spader. He does a great job with this, with the part, and it's such a badass Avengers movie. Like, I may love Captain America's, the suit that Captain America wears in Avengers Endgame may be my favorite thing of Avengers Endgame, but when it comes to the Avengers movie so far, this one is by far my favorite because it's about as science fiction as you could possibly get. Seeing Hulk take on Iron Man and the Hulkbuster in probably has one of the funniest little scenes ever, where Iron Man knocks out one of Hulk's teeth and Hulk just stares at him and Iron Man just looks like, I'm sorry. Like that whole bit. And then there's the extremely, and I mean extremely, cartoony scene where the Hulkbuster punches Hulk in the face repeatedly with the fist popping out, and hitting Hulk in the face, and Tony Stark's going like, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. Everyone knows that scene. So you have some serious humor between a fight between Hulk and Iron Man, and you have a robot who's the main villain. And my favorite line from Ultron is when he throws shade at Captain America here. When he goes, I can't physically throw up in my mouth. Like, damn. And when he goes like pretending, when he says, oh, Captain America can't, live life. He pretends to live life without a war. So it's like, he throws shade at Cap and it's crazy. And then he kind of throws shade at Thor when he goes, at the final battle when he goes, Thor, you're bothering me. Like, I don't know why, but everything Ultron says feels so comic booky. Like, it feels so much like everything Ultron says has this comic booky, he has this very comic book style dialogue to him. And that's what makes him such a great, sorry, I almost belched again. That's what makes him such a great villain in this movie, is because it's just his dialogue. Part of his, I mean, also the fact that he's a literal talking robot, you know what I mean? And like I said, I'm a huge sucker for movie robots, but just his dialogue just feels like something straight out of a comic book. Like all of his, all of his lines are just so simple, and yet they have a very strong villain presence to him and everything. It's just such a great Avengers movie, to be honest with you. So I'm always going to recommend this one. Out of a lot of the MCU movies, this one's by far one of my favorite ones. Okay, so since we were talking about movie robots earlier, since, we're still on that subject, anybody remember this movie starring Hugh Jackman, Real Steel? You know, the movie about robot boxing? Well, hardly anybody talks about this movie anymore, and to be honest, I really did enjoy this movie. I first saw this on, it was on FX. Remember that channel? Remember the FX channel, anybody? I'm pretty sure it's still going on now, but I first saw this on that channel and watched it, and when I saw, like, robots beating the living shit out of each other, it's like, oh my god, this is a fun movie. But I just love, like, the human story behind it, like, Hugh Jackman on the cover. That it does, you wouldn't think it was Hugh Jackman until you saw it up close. But what do you call it? I just love how, like, the human story behind it. You got, like, Hugh Jackman's character as a struggling divorced husband who's trying to make it great in the robot boxing industry, trying to do good by his son, and then they find this underdog chappy looking thing that ends up becoming a champion in the ring and shit. It's a really good movie. Like, I haven't seen this movie in a really long time, but I just remember the premise of it, and I just remember that it was a really, really fun movie. Like, it's Rocky with robots. I may not have seen the Rocky movies at all. I know they're iconic and shit, I get that, but I've never watched them. So yeah, but I do know of what they're about, really, to be honest with you. So yeah, it's Rocky with robots. Yeah, no shit. So, would I recommend this one? Oh, hell yeah. Dude, any movie that has robots in it deserves a watch, because robots are just awesome. Like, you got Transformers, you got Mechagodzilla, you got this, you got Ultron. Basically anything with robots in it is, and heck, even that old 80s science fiction movie that I talked about, I believe, in my last movie haul, Robot Wars, and then you got the two Transmorpher films from the Asylum. Like, oh, and then there's that other Asylum movie that I talked about, Robot Apocalypse. Anything with robots in it is just awesome, because with robots robots in movies are like aliens. You have such a huge amount of creative freedom where you can come up with any design for them. And so far, Hollywood, I have yet to see a robot. Please tell me in the comments if there's any movie robot that looks like ass, because I have yet to see a movie robot that looks like shit, because Hollywood just knows how to do robots. And same thing with and also when it comes to robots, the Jaegers from the Pacific Rim Legacy, anybody? And also Japan with Gundam. So it's like, well, I did mention Mechagodzilla already. But yeah, let me know in the comments if there's such a thing as a movie robot that looks like shit, because I have yet to see one. Okay, so another subject for this month's movie haul. I did mention book to movie adaptations, but what about game to movie adaptations? Now, most of the time, as far as I've been hearing anyways, that those types of movies are not really that good, because apparently Hollywood can't take a game and make a movie and make a good solid movie out of it. I mean, I've seen it happen. Monster Hunter, starring Mila Jovovich, directed by her husband Paul Anderson. Anybody? But one game adaptation that has one video game franchise, I should say, that has gotten movie adaptations, and none of them out in theaters, which really sucks that no major Hollywood studio has done a real theatrical movie of it, and now there's a series of it on Paramount Plus, which apparently sucks. So the movies made of this franchise are like independent movie studios that release these things straight to DVD for some damn reason. Is Halo. Now, this movie I watched at least one time before, and I enjoyed it. And the same thing with Halo 4 Forward Unto Dawn. Like, seriously, you have these two live-action Halo films, and why no major studio would freaking make a real theatrical movie of Halo is beyond me. I mean, it almost happened. It almost freaking happened. Anybody remember that movie District 9? You know, that movie about the those aliens that come down over Johannesburg, South Africa, and they don't like try to conquer the world or anything. They just like live among humans and they suck at it, and there's all these riots that happen between humans and aliens. Yeah, originally that was going to be Halo. Even the producer himself, Peter Jackson, has stated that that was originally supposed to be a Halo movie, but somewhere during production they screwed up, and then they ended up making a whole other movie. So, sorry again, I almost belched. So, it sucks that, I mean, District 9's a great movie, don't get me wrong. District 9 is such a great emotional science fiction film. But it just sucks that that could have been a Halo movie, and yet that didn't happen. So, an actual theatrical Halo movie, I should say. But the ones that we have, the two live-action movies that we have, this and Forward Unto Dawn, are really, really well made. I mean, you can tell the people that made these are fans of this franchise. And I can't believe Halo Nightfall is produced. One of the executive producers is Ridley frickin' Scott, the guy who did Alien. The guy who did Alien, Prometheus, and Alien Covenant. And there's another movie that he did recently. I think it was, I want to say Exodus, Gods and Kings, which is basically a live-action remake of Prince of Egypt, because it literally has the same damn storyline with a lot of the same dialogue pretty much. So I just so can't believe they got Ridley Scott to be an executive producer on this movie, and wow, that's insane to me. That's just crazy. So anybody who has not seen the two live action Halo films, this and Halo 4 Forward Unto Dawn, definitely give them a watch. They kick ass. The special effects are great. I mean, everything about these movies, they're just fun movies that take place within the Halo universe. So, I would definitely recommend these movies. I can't really pick a favorite because both of them are just that badass and they're very well done. So yeah, definitely give the two live-action Halos a watch. Now, I know there's the anime story thing, Halo Legends. I would give those a watch. I would give that little anthology show or whatever it is. It's a bunch of different stories, you know, but it's anime, so it's except one bit that was full CG animated. It's kind of odd, but that one's cool too. But live action ones to me are, you know, a hell of a lot better, to be honest with you. Okay, so for our next movie here, anybody remember that Russian superhero movie, just simply titled Guardians? Well, it seems like, I don't know if it's the same Russian movie studio or not, but there's another Russian movie that I found. I've heard of it, I found it on YouTube once, and I almost downloaded it, but I don't know if it's still up there, but I don't care now since I have it. It's called I Am Dragon. A very interesting title. Now, the slogan says Game of Thrones meets Beauty and the Beast, and to my understanding, I can see why, because when I looked this movie up, I think what it said was the dragon is this dude right here who turns into it. Like, literally, a were-dragon, basically. A guy who turns into a dragon. Now, I love, like, how this cover is very reminiscent of Jack the Giant Killer, where you have, like, you know, one major creature design here, and then it shows on the back what it actually looks like. Now, look at this. You got this wicked-ass Game of Thrones looking dragon, and then look on the back, you got this completely different looking thing right here. Like, look at this. And I just love the fact that a lot of the time when I see a bunch of dragon movies, it's always a wyvern for some odd reason. They never use like a European, like in Dragonheart. They don't use a European dragon. They always use a wyvern for some odd reason. And they always make wyverns breathe fire when, for those of you who have read the Dragonology books, wyverns don't breathe fire. Like, the only dragon movie that has ever gotten a wyvern correct was the movie simply called Wyvern from 2008, made by Sintel Films for the Sci-Fi Channel. But this movie did get me like really curious because I'm a huge, just like movie robots, I love dragons. I love dragons. Movies like Reign of Fire, Dragon Wars, Age of the Dragons, which is basically the dragon version of Moby Dick. You know, so I have nothing to say about this movie because I've never seen it, but I am really curious about this movie. A dude turning into a dragon. That is badass to me, really, to be perfectly honest with you. So when it comes to recommendations, I don't know yet, because like I said, I've never seen it. I only know the premise, and that's about it. So, we're still on the subject of, well, speaking of dragons, I did mention Dragonheart earlier when I was talking about the Spawn movie. And speaking of Dragonheart, now, I bought this movie because the copy that I had, or that I have right now, is a bootleg. And, yeah, the quality of it's really not that good. And also, I can't remember who made it for me, but it has subtitles on it, which, the movie's in English. It's a bit odd. So, here we go. You got Dragonheart 3, The Sorcerer's Curse. Now, this movie, I grew up with Dragonhearts 1 and 2. I've never had the first movie, but I always grew up watching the second one, because I had that on VHS, and I didn't buy the first movie until like 8 years ago. Yeah, until about 8 years ago. So, in 2015, this movie just dropped out of nowhere. Like, I saw no trailer for it, or nothing. Like, this movie, I just literally went to Walmart one day and saw this on the shelf, and it was like $10 when I first saw it. And I looked, and I was shocked when I saw this. And I grew up with the dragons from Dragonheart looking like Drake and Draco. I didn't think they were going to look like that. So I rented the movie and watched it, and honest to God, I enjoyed the living shit out of this, because it's so odd seeing Universal do straight-to-DVD films. It's really, really weird to me. It's so odd. I mean, they're doing it now with Tremors. Like, I knew in 2015, I knew Tremors 5 was coming out, but I didn't know this came out. And in watching this movie, the CGI on this dragon, who they call him Drago, which Draco, Drago. I mean, these names, I don't know. I got nothing. But the CG on this character is freaking fantastic. This is like Jurassic Park fantastic. The CG on him, and I love the fact that Ben Kingsley is who does his voice. It's just hilarious. Like, they try to make, like, my con with this movie is that he has that same expression on his face the entire movie. Like, you hear the feeling and emotion in Ben Kingsley's voice, but when it comes to showing facial expression on Drago, he kinda does, which is really weird. It's like like I said, he has that same expression on his face the whole movie. and as amazing as the CG is, it's like they should have put a little more expression on him. But it's so weird that in Dragonheart 4, Battle for the Heartfire, Drago looks, his whole design is drastically different, and they explain that the reason why he looks different in 4 is because Drago he's gotten older since this movie. So it's just odd that they just did this whole drastic design change, and then Patrick Stewart does his voice in the 4th movie. But this one, honestly, is I mean, it's a Dragonheart movie, so it's enjoyable. Well, to me, anyway. And what's funny is this one, along with Battle for the Heartfire, which is the 4th movie, and then the 5th movie, Dragonheart Vengeance, they're prequels to the very first movie, for those of you who don't know. And the story of Dragonheart actually starts here, with Drago coming down from space, which, why they do that, I have no idea. But Drago comes down with dragon eggs, and by the end of the movie, and explained in 4, the humans raise those dragons, and Draco, from the very first movie, was one of those eggs. So what Universal is doing now is making prequels to the very first movie, like each dragon is getting his or her own movie, which will lead into the first one. So they're doing this whole big, like, each dragon getting his or her own story and everything. So, and I love that they're doing that, actually. I really do enjoy it. So, anybody who, whether it be this movie or even the second one, I know the second one is the one that gets disliked a lot among fans of this franchise, but the second movie, it's lighthearted, semi-cartoony nature. It's funny. It's a funny, cute little movie. And then 3, 4, and 5 are all serious. I mean, the 5th one does have a lot of very humorous moments in it. They try to make the female dragon kind of not act like a female Draco, but her character in that movie is just so fun to watch. And they give her a shitload of screen time. Like, they give her, like, literally 13 and a half minutes of screen time total in that movie. I don't know how much screen time Drago has here, but anyways, I'm talking about, like, the whole franchise. Sorry, you all know I can't help myself when it comes to this. But when it comes to recommending movies, any of the Dragonheart series, I recommend buying and watching. Just binge watching on all 5 of them, because all of them are really, really fun movies. So, definitely recommend this franchise as a whole, not just the 3rd one here. Okay, so for the next movie, I mentioned Moby Dick earlier when I was talking about how much I love dragon movies. I did mention Age of the Dragons, which I said is the dragon version of Moby Dick, starring Danny Glover as Captain Ahab. Anyone who has not seen that, definitely go watch it, because the CG is actually pretty good for a straight-to-DVD movie. And speaking of Moby Dick, I have In the Heart of the Sea, starring Chris Hemsworth. And it's so weird to see him do movies other than playing as Thor. And In the Heart of the Sea, it's a true story about an actual ship, the Essex, that was sunk by a pissed off sperm whale. And apparently, it's the true story about when the Essex sank. That's what inspired Herman Melville to write Moby Dick. So this movie is about the story of the Essex, but they say like the whale was all white and shit. So it's basically a Moby Dick movie, but the way they play it off is like a monster movie. I've seen this movie at least twice. They play it off like a monster movie. It is a good movie, don't get me wrong. It's a monster movie with drama in it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I have seen this movie. How many? No, it wasn't twice. I've seen it one time. I watched it once, all the way through, and this is a really good movie. All the actors do a pretty decent job, And holy shit, is that Tom Holland? Oh my god, is that Tom Holland? Oh my god. Oh my god, it is Tom Holland. So, Tom Holland and Chris Hemsworth were in a movie together before he played as Spider-Man. Holy shit. When did this? 2015. Oh my god, I never knew that was Tom Holland. Holy shit, now looking at it, that is Tom Holland. Holy shit. Okay, I just now realized that. Wow. I just now saw that. But, I do recommend getting this movie. I mean, because it's... I mean, just look at it. You see this cover and it's like, why wouldn't you watch it? Are you kidding me? A true story movie that inspired one of the greatest pieces of literature ever written? Are you serious? Like, come on. I mean, I know I ain't got much to say on it, but come on. Seriously, y'all, anyone who has not watched this, this is an underrated gem in my opinion. Okay, so we just got one more movie to talk about, and now when it comes to monster films, or creature films really, everyone knows the giant killer snake genre. I mean, there's a lot of giant snake films, but the one that most, sorry, I'm stuttering a little bit. The one that most fans probably remember is the Bow and Python series, but the other one that is the most famous of the giant killer snake genre are the Anaconda films, and I think you've seen me talk about either the first Anaconda or Anaconda 3, and I finally found Anaconda's Trail of Blood, and this is the fourth movie in the franchise, and I say franchise because of the crossover that it got with Lake Placid, which honestly is my favorite one out of the Anaconda series. When it comes to Lake Placid Legacy is my favorite out of the bunch. But Anaconda's Trail of Blood, I haven't seen this one in a long ass time, but the one thing that stuck out to me, I mean, I love this cover. I love how this cover, like, really tries to duplicate the very first movie. Because anybody remember the very first Anaconda from, I can't remember, 1997, I think. How the poster had just the eyes on the front. I love how this DVD cover tries to bring that back, which actually is a nice paying tribute to that. And the two main things that stick out to me is just the Anaconda. There's like two of them. I think there's like two giant snakes in this movie, and one of them is this female who's all black in color and has a giant blade at the end of her tail, like a xenomorph, and she just impales people, stabs people. It's quite brutal. And the CG is, I mean, you know, it's made by the Sci-Fi Channel, so the CG is pretty hit or miss, you know, it's pretty obvious. But there are some shots that are, like, in between decent and obvious. It's weird, like, the CG looks really, really weird. But, when it comes to the Anaconda films, it's like, the thing about these kinds of movies is they know what movie they are, and they don't try to be any more than that. So that's why I would recommend the Anaconda and the Lake Placid films. Now, do I recommend the Anaconda franchise over the Bow and Python movies? To be perfectly honest with you, I would say, I don't know, that's really hard to pick, because the Bow and Python series, I love those movies, and I love Anaconda. So, it's really hard to pick which giant snake series is a lot better. But please put down there in the comments on which movie franchise you think is, which series do you think is better. You think the Anaconda films are better, or do you think the Bow and Python films are better? So please put that in the comments.